Hey guys, Skipper here bringing you another video. This one is a Napoleon Total War online battle on the pyramids. So I'm the host on this one, and the rules were no artillery, a maximum of 4 cavalry, and hang on, pause that. A maximum of 5 light infantry or skirmisher units. I'm playing as France, as you can see. My ally here, I can't remember what they're called, is playing as the UK, and both of our opponents also playing as France, so that might get a bit confusing, but there you go. So these are pretty decent nations. We haven't got people accidentally going Austria or Russia or one of the minor nations. These are quality nations with it's quality over quantity. They're very good troops, but there's also quite a few of them. I mean, enough to spread across the battlefield, as you can see. My ally is UK, which means he has the best line infantry in the game. The British Foot are the best default line infantry in the game. And France, along with Prussia, come very close, especially with their elite units, which I have several of. I'll go through the units in a minute. The reason I chose pyramids is I find it's one of the more even maps. I mean, Arcoli is my personal favourite, but if you want balanced gameplay, the two best maps for it, aside from Arcoli, as I've mentioned, are Grassy Flatlands and Pyramids. Pyramids I kind of prefer to Grassy Flatlands just because it has things like this hill here, and the fact that it's on a slope, and also the jungly terrain over here. Plus it's just visually more appealing than Grassy Flatlands. It's not just a flat field. So we're on Pyramids to make it a balanced match. It's 2v2. I've gone through the rules and the nations, so I'll go through the army setup now. So I chose France because I say this in every online battle, but basically very much suited to my style of play. I prefer quality over quantity. I'm very much an aggressive player, and when I attack I like to have the maximum firepower I can. However, I don't tend to go UK that often despite that, because the issue I have with UK is the units are so expensive that you can't get many of them unless you substitute and go for some weaker units. So on a 1v1 I will almost never go UK. I'll go France or Prussia. I've gone France. And anything more, it's more acceptable to go UK, so that's why it's not so bad that this guy's gone UK, but I still will personally limit UK 9 times out of 10 to 3v3s or 4v4s. 2v2s, it's just a bit small. There's not really... the map's a bit too large for an army so small, in my opinion. So instead I went for France, who aren't far behind the UK. I think Prussia have the second best infantry and France have the third, so France are just behind. And they have a nice variety of units, and I can afford enough of them to make a difference. So I'll go through my unit composition. I have a general staff. As I always say, it's better to have a general staff than a historical unit because they're cheaper, which means you can afford more infantry, which are 20 times better than having just a pointless general. And also if he dies, it doesn't really matter so much. So always go for general staff is my advice, though I can understand why people don't. So here's the general staff. And in terms of cavalry, I have just gone for 2 units of cavalry. As per usual, I've gone with the lancers. I tend to go with the lancers due to the shock damage, and because I don't like prolonged melee action with my cavalry. I like to use them to support the infantry in quick attacks in order to pin my opponent in place whilst I move my infantry. So that's why I've gone with the lancers. I've got 2 of them, one here and one all the way over here. And then in regards to the light infantry, France don't really have very good skirmishers. They have better light infantry, so I've got light infantry. I've got chasseurs, as you can see here. I've got 2 of these, and I'm going to spread them out in light infantry formation when I can, so they're all spread out and crouching. And then on to my infantry, the bulk of army. I have 2 units of the Old Guard, so these are, along with the Coldstream Guard, the best single unit in the game. I've got 2 of these. Here's the other one. And I have Young Guard here, These are also very good elite infantry, but not quite as good. I have 1, 2, 3. I think I've got 4 of them. I may just have, yeah, 1, 2. I have 4 units of Young Guard. Okay. And then I have 6 units of Fusiliers of the line. These are just basic line infantry. Then on to my ally, who's playing as UK. Sorry, ignore my cough. He has a general staff, pretty default. There you go. And then we'll just go from left to right. He has a unit of Dragoon Guards. He has 1 unit of Dragoon Guards. They're heavy cavalry, along with King's German Legion Dragoons, which are basically the same. They're also heavy cavalry. Life Guards, which are elite heavy cavalry, and 15th Hussars, which are elite light cavalry. So he has a solid mix of cavalry. In regards to his infantry, he has 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 units of light foot. These are light infantry. He didn't go with the rifles, which are the British rifles are the best in the game, but he went with the light infantry instead, probably so he could afford more light infantry, which does make sense. He's got the Coldstream Guards. These are an elite DLC unit. They are, along with the Old Guard, one of the best infantry units in the game. They're very good. He has, let me count, 2 units of King's German Legion foot. These are mildly better than, these are pretty good line infantry units. They're mildly better than normal foot, though quite expensive. He has 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 units of Highlanders, Highland foot. These are the Scottish infantry units. That I think are I'm not sure. I think they're mildly better than the normal foot, but they're also, I think their cost makes them not worth it personally, because they aren't that much better, but they're a lot more expensive. And he has 4 units of basic foot. No, he has 2 units, sorry, of basic foot line infantry. He's just the default, the best basic infantry in the game. Okay. So let's just play. So basically my formation. I split my army into 2 separate lines, as you'll often see me do. I have this one line here, and I've evenly distributed, so I have in these lines 1 unit of Old Guard, 2 units of Young Guard, and 3 units of Fusiliers in each section. So that's there and here. I have cavalry in each side, 1 lancer support there, 1 lancer support here, and I'm having my light infantry spread out in the center in line infantry formation when they finally move. I'll move them any second. Here we go, like that, like so. So as per usual, my center is weaker in order to encourage my opponent to attack my center and allowing my army to naturally fold around them. That's what I do. Now what I decide to do here is I'm going to immediately go for this hill with the buildings. My opponent spawns slightly nearer, so I don't expect to get there in time, but I'm going to try and rush it anyway. I'm going to send this right line, this right group of units straight up the middle, whereas this left one's going to go at a slight angle to try and catch them round the side, and the light infantry will be there to support, as with the cavalry, of course. My opponent, for some reason he moves back here, which at the start made me worry, because it shows 2 very different styles, me being aggressive and him being defensive. However, he does move forward, so I don't know if maybe he was just grouping his units back here or what. But he's clearly got all his cavalry here. I think maybe, because I told him that I was going to go for this hill. In fact, he asked me if I was going to, and I said yes. So he's got his cavalry here potentially to support me, here on the right. He has a basic double line screened. He has his light infantry and light infantry kind of skirmish mode, whatever it is, and they spread out and crouch, and it means that the line infantry can shoot over them, so it makes like a double barrage. It's the best way of getting maximum firepower out of your units. You can see his formation here. It's pretty basic. Got some reserves. Okay, now I'm going to pause and go through my opposition's armies. So they're both playing as France. The opposition directly facing me, and this is assuming there's no hidden units, has a lot of cavalry, a lot of missile cav. 4 units of missile cavs, the chasseurs et cheval. So basically, they're cavalry with guns. He has 1, 2... He has 2 units of... Sorry. He has 3 units of young guard, just like me. He has 2 units of old guard, just like me. But I have 4 units of young guard, he's got 3. He's got 2 units of fusiliers, basic line infantry. He's got the Swiss Foot, an elite unit of line infantry, and the Polish Legion, another elite unit of line infantry. So he's got less units than me, fewer units, should I say. But they're of a higher quality, they're more elite. And his ally has... Let's go through... He has 2 units of missile cav. For some reason these guys really like their missile cav. Chasseurs et cheval, as you can see. He has light infantry. Well, he's got 2 units of light infantry there, the chasseurs. Has he got any more? Yeah, he's got 5 units of light infantry, so he took the max that he was allowed. Spread out across battlefield, as you can see. He has a Polish Legion unit. He has 2 Polish Legion units, 3 Polish Legion units, 4 Polish Legion units, okay, wow. A Swiss Foot, 2 Swiss Foot, 3 Swiss Foot, and 3 units of basic fusiliers. So this guy's gone for a lot of elite Swiss and Polish legions, the kind of cheaper options, but no young and old guard. So he's going for more for the quantity over quality, but he has also upgraded his units, so this isn't like Russia mass weak units or Austria. This is a good quality. That's a good mix of an army. So I checked these guys' Steam profiles, and each one of us has experience. There's no noobs here. I think the person who's facing my ally, the person playing as France, had, I think, 1,200 hours or so in the game. So they had the most. I had the second most. I've got about 700, or nearing there, hours. Then my opposition had the third most, about 600 hours, and then my ally had the least of, I think, 200 hours. So as you can see, I'm immediately rushing up here, as I said I would do. My opponent starts a bit nearer, so they're managing to get there first. They've sent their cavalry forward to try and stop me, which forces me to kind of rethink. And I draw a line here instead of rushing up the hill. My ally sent his cavalry. And my ally sends all his infantry over here to the left. I think he wants to try and get around the left flank. Which means that there is a massive gap open in the battlefield, and his opponent has sent some units to support his ally on the hill, as you can see here. So it looks like the engagement is first going to be here, just due to the distance between the armies and the fact that both my ally and his are sending units to support. So as you can see, I spread my units right across the battlefield all the way to the edge so I can't get flanked. Got my line infantry in a kind of double line screened. He responds by pulling his cavalry back and doing the same, basically, on top of this hill. I have my units here, and I would immediately come up here, around the left flank, in order to put him off, because he hasn't spread enough. I hesitate because of this. His ally is sending elite units to support. And so if I come up here, he will have my flank. So I'm kind of relying on my ally to send some units over, which he does. He begins sending his King's German Legion and his Coldstream, so these are pretty elite units as well. So I'm not yet willing to engage, but I do send my light infantry forward to begin the skirmish phase. Skirmish with his troops. He responds by doing exactly the same. Oh, he's got voltigeurs, not chasseurs. So he's got actual skirmishers. He's got stakes down, as you can see, to stop any cavalry charges. So he's got longer range than me, though the voltigeurs on France aren't very good. The chasseurs are a better investment, in my opinion. Anyway, seeing as his ally has come forward and my ally's cavalry is pulled back, I readjust my lines, bringing it back more in parallel with the rest of my army. I'm really worried about being flanked here. Thankfully, as you can see, he has stopped. And so my general sort of strategy right now is just to wait for these units to reinforce, and hopefully they can engage the reinforcements from our opposition whilst I take the hill. Now my ally has sent his cavalry straight into this gap in the center. His opposition forms square to prevent anything from happening, so he goes straight for their missile cav. I've kind of adjusted my lines to face these if they engage. Realised that they're kind of hesitating due to the cavalry attack. I decided to make my move. I go back into formation. Also knowing that I'm taking casualties in this skirmish with my line infantry as well. So my allies' cavalry disengages and goes for the rest of the opposition cavalry. Missile cav against melee cav in a fight is a bad idea, but he has infantry to support. Anyway, he sent all his cavalry away. So I take the initiative and I do a very quick, very dynamic assault up the hill. My light infantry, they rout, but I was basically using them as cannon fodder, so they suck up the bullets whilst the rest of my army advances. So this line is fighting uphill against a superior force, really, because they've got voltigeurs as well. So I do two things. Firstly, I send my lancers to try and get this flank. They go into square. This allows me to move my infantry, my fusiliers on this right flank, round slightly, so that I have an angle and can wrap around. As you can see, and then I pull my cavalry out. So I've got them in square, meaning they can't react to this. And secondly, I do this. I send my infantry onto their flank. And they're getting absolutely decimated on this side. However, my allies' cavalry has routed. They charge back. So I form a square, of course. And my opposition's ally, the infantry they had here, have got nothing to engage, and so they are coming up on my flank, which is what I feared. They are coming up behind me. Thankfully these units are routing, so I can very quickly move in. My cavalry on this side has routed, as has my infantry, so this flank failed. Primarily because when I routed these units, they simply sent replacements in. Thankfully I'm doing well on this flank for now. So I'm able to push on the left instead. Now his ally, who's reinforcing him, is really coming up behind me, so I'm having to push forward. And my ally, who was sending me reinforcements, just stopped here and didn't engage, which is really annoying. I really wanted him to engage. And on this side of the battlefield, the skirmish phase is kind of beginning. They got their skirmishers out on the far left.
Our men are running, sir!
I'm taking heavy casualties, as you can see. Primarily because of this. I'm being attacked from behind as well as the front because my ally is not sending these units forward for some reason. There's not really anything I can do about it, so other than keep advancing, which is what I'm doing, and try to stay out of their firing range. I'm really wrapping this opposition in, which is very good. This flank is doing a remarkable job, and I would say it would be a huge success were I not also being fired at from behind. Thankfully, the infantry has started moving forward, though they're simply following me, and the British infantry really isn't responding well enough. My opposition moves back, so I respond.
Our men are running, sir!
I've sent a fresh unit all the way around on the right so that he can't wrap, because my units are routing there. Now he's tried to wrap here on the left, and so I take the initiative and instead go around the right. As you can see, because the building prevents me from getting around to his left. Once more, his ally is reinforcing behind me, which is incredibly annoying, and my British ally is not doing enough to help. See, we're kind of spiraling all our lines round and round, anti-clockwise. Now his general's open as well, as you can see.
Sir! Sir! Our general is under attack!
Yeah, my general takes some fire as well. He's just here behind my units. See, I'm very much winning this battle. I mean, look at the size of these regiments compared to these. That's how many casualties they've taken in comparison to me. So I wrap on the right once more. But as I say, my fear is here, these units. These are his reinforcements from his ally. So the other player, because they're not yet engaging over here. My ally sent units all the way around the left, but these aren't yet engaging, which means that his ally has time to reinforce, which is what he's doing. And these British just aren't doing anything helpful. We start routing his units once more. He sends his cavalry in, but because I was so focused on moving my own general, because that's his general that charged, I moved my general out of the way, that I wasn't really concentrating and get caught off guard. Anyway, that's my opposition done, because these units are reinforcements from my ally, so I've just defeated this opposition. So now this ally is out of the game. This army, because they're not engaging here, they've sent the reinforcements over, they got me in behind, and that's who I'm fighting now. And they're far superior to me, they're fresh, they've got unit experience, and they outnumber me.
Our men are running, sir.
My units start routing, as you can see. Now I'm trying really hard to stop him from wrapping around. He tries to send his general back so I get in square. But I'm trying really hard to stop him from wrapping around me, but because I'm losing my units on the flank, I just can't. Because I took so many casualties before. So these are my only 2 units left. So he decides to send his old guard into a melee battle with my old guard. Rather confusing. It's pretty difficult to tell who you're fighting, really. They rout almost instantly. I've just got this Fusilier unit left on my general. Yep, they rout. So that's my army gone, apart from my general who have moved up here. So to explain what happens there, to really kind of summarise, I attacked this hill. My opposition was on the hill. I attacked around the left flank. I defeated my opposition, but his ally reinforced and got me in the back because my ally didn't really engage in time. So basically both this side of the battlefield, both of us, we're out the game, so it's between my ally and his ally now. They've finally started their skirmish phase. So as you can see, he's got units on the far left, he's trying to flank. He's also skirmishing from the front. I don't know what he's doing here, he's just shooting his own unit in the back, but oh well. I tell him that this formation is bad and to stop doing it, so he moves, because he's asking himself to be surrounded by doing this. You see, I've still got my general who I send in to give moral support. I don't think he realises that all of these men are the same guy he's currently fighting. Our opposition sends missile cav around to basically prevent this left flank from getting all the way around, if that makes sense. He's around far too many times in that sentence. So he responds accordingly, leaving his flank open to bullet fire. He does the right thing here. He readjusts his line so that the missile cav can't really shoot at him, and neither can the Fusiliers. Seeing as our opposition has all of these men reinforcing, he decides to pull his units back. And I follow with my general. So the French here are being really depleted. I mean, this is a really minor force. It's the weakest part of the army. All of the best units went off to reinforce my opposition. So these guys are surrounded and being depleted. So in other words, it's at this point a matter of can he break these units before the reinforcements arrive? Which is what he's trying to do. He's trying to spread the ranks even further, as you see with the light infantry. He forms square against a missile cav. I'm not sure if squares actually do anything against missile cav. It's only when you're in melee, so I think this was a mistake by him. And he's taking heavy casualties, as you can see. Our opposition is getting steadily closer. This unit breaks, as does that unit. So the Swiss foot and the Fusiliers on the French side both break, leaving big holes in this side. So things are getting really close here. Because just as that's happening, his reinforcements are arriving. So basically most of his army is starting to rout. He responds by sending his units forward, as he should. He loses a couple of units himself, but not too many. Seeing this army coming up round his flank, he's also moving forward and pressing this advantage as much as he can. He gets caught by the missile cav, which shows he wasn't concentrating, but no worries. These Fusiliers are losing. Fusiliers are losing. Because they're outnumbered and mildly surrounded due to the angles. The cavalry actually breaks this unit. They rout. And goes on to the next one. He's really not concentrating. He should concentrate on that cavalry. What he's concentrating on is the opposition aren't getting closer. And as you can see, not only are they coming directly at him, they're coming from the side, and so he's kind of being surrounded. So he's in a bad place now. He's got opposition to the left, to the right, and to the center. His response is to move all the way back into this forest and to attempt to get out of this trap. So that's what he's doing. I moved my general quite a way away. These units that routed have come back as well, so things are getting really bad. He's really surrounded here. However, he has taken this hill.
Line infantry!
Yeah, to almost both sides, their lines are real messes. I mean, compare this organization to how I play. I would have gone in one sweeping line across the left and the right. It's very easy to take out units individually when you do this, so this is a mistake on both sides. But I can't really blame them. So his best bet here is to try and break these units once more, swing around the left, take this hill, and then face the opposition head on. So that's what he is attempting here.
Line infantry!
If they bother to fire. His unit's trying to trap him, as you can see, well, his opposition's units, should I say, with their chasseurs, which are light infantry, so they have this range. However, this unit on the far left does break once again. This unit's wavering, just as the chasseurs are firing. And that breaks. So now he's able to very quickly, as you can see he's running, swing his units around this left-hand side and get the chasseurs, the infantry, and potentially the general on this hill. So he immediately moves all of his army all the way around here to prevent these flanking units from coming up, getting him head-on, and also seizing the hill. And my general's still here, just chilling. He tries to stop this by moving further along. But, big mistake he made, these are light infantry, you want to keep them further away from your opposition, he's moving them closer. If these guys get into melee, or even just a basic firefight, then they don't have the numbers or the firepower to break through. So if I were him, I would have actually moved a bit further along here, but that's just me, once more giving my pointless advice. And if I was my ally, I also would have got a lot closer. He tries to charge into melee, forcing my opposition down here actually. There you go, they get pretty close here. That's because it's a melee charge. These are charging the Swiss foot, which are elites, after being fired at. So this is a pretty bad idea, but he does reinforce with Highlanders. He needs to watch out for the chasseurs here firing, plus the chasseurs that have got around here, which is, he's finally done what I would have done. Forcing this unit into wrap. He's shooting his own units here, so both these guys break. See, I've got my general up here once again. His chasseurs, I don't know if they're out of ammo and so charging, they got way too close and routed. So he's basically defeated these guys. Not really sure what he's doing. I think he's going to send the chasseurs around here once again, which is a good idea. Plus he's got the Swiss foot in the middle, which is a bad idea. You see, if I was him, I would have reordered these into a line, split it in two, sent some round the side of this hill, some round the side of this bank, and collapsed him from the centre. But for some reason the opposition is so disorganised that he's kind of at an angle, which means that his opposition is just picking off his flank without any sort of resistance. Oh yeah, I just used my general's ability to increase morale to rally his men. See, things look so bad, there's actually a gap that's emerged between these two units, so these are kind of isolated from the rest of his army. Which is bad. It's a bad sign if you've got a big gap that isn't dragging any units into a trap. Or flanking, neither of which he's doing. Anyway, he finally tries to get around his flank. He actually sends cavalry in support, as you can see coming around here. This was a smart move. My allies' way of dealing with this is to send the Coldstream Guards around here. Pro, they're an elite unit, they can cover the gap, they can most likely hold. Con, he's once more facing inwards in a semicircular shape, which is how you get yourself surrounded, which is how you lose battles on Napoleon. On most Total War games. On most strategy games.
Forget the enemy, be afraid of me!
Okay, so these are the elite. Okay, whilst he's setting up his Coldstream to fire, the cavalry comes into the flank, and so he's forced into a square. The cavalry immediately pull back, he's in a square facing the opposition. That's how you use cavalry. That is how you use cavalry. That, and even better if he could send some infantry around to support whilst he's in the square, but those who bring cavalry to get into big prolonged fights, that's not how you use them. You're meant to use cavalry, not very often, not even just to engage the enemy, but to force them into squares on the flanks. Now his Coldstream, they aren't firing, they're facing the wrong way, they're setting up again, they're taking casualties. They're already down to 88 men from the original 120, they've only been in the fight for a matter of seconds. Anyway, so the Polish Legion have finally got forward. They're trying to take on the light infantry in a skirmish fight for some reason. It's just ludicrous, but you know, can't blame him. Cavalry catches him off guard. He doesn't form square that time. Sending his old guard forward. I'm not sure if he's trying to engage these in melee so that he can force the light infantry to break and then get on the left flank of these Highlanders, but it makes sense. It's old guard, it's also Swiss guard, so there's two units of elite here. One very good and one okay. And the old guard's got two chevrons as well, and the Swiss have one. Yeah, he's trying to go into melee with the lights in order to get them to rout because they're light infantry, and then he can get on this flank. He does that just as the Polish Legion that he was engaging rout, and he sends his King's German Legion on the flank, causing the Swiss foot to rout, so now it's just the old guard left. But they're old guard, so what can you say? Anyway, the Coldstream Guard finally took care of that missile cav, the Chasseurs et Cheval. So now they're once more on the flank, but they rout, as do the Highlanders, because there's so few men. So now he's winning on this flank, my ally is winning on this right flank. The old guard is getting swarmed by light infantry in all units. And he's firing at his own men. If I was him, I would not have engaged old guards in melee, but if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. Anyway, he starts pulling his light infantry back to shoot at them. His opposition gets round his flank, forcing him to turn. This is a good move by his opposition. Yeah, my general kind of got... My general charged into the old guard, routed them.
We have killed their generals.
Oh no, sorry.
Now they must break.
That was our opposition's general. Yeah, my bad. That was actually my opposition, the one I faced on here. Just as my general escaped, so did his. So both our armies were completely destroyed, but our generals escaped, and he just charged his into that fight and lost it, and the old guard routed as well. So my ally begins to pull his units back. His opposition decides to charge the Highlanders, but they are holding. And he sends his general in. So everyone's sending their general in to fight for some reason. So these units actually rout because the old guard on the hill in melee against light infantry means that the Highlanders means that Highlanders are going to win. He pulls his light infantry back, shoots into the Swiss foot and the Polish Legion, who are engaging the other King's German Legion in melee. So he's basically skirmishing now. My general's just still chilling at the back. He's only got 6 guys left.
We are back to save.
My ally pulls his general out of that fight, rightly so, and I move... Ah! Yes, I know what I've done. I've seen that they've all been engaging their generals, so I move mine all the way around here on the left, and I'm going to try and flank round and get him in behind. Because I've got no other use for my general. I've used up all my rally abilities on my ally and myself. The amount of casualties that both sides are sustaining out of pure stupidity is hilarious. It really is. It's like they have moments of brilliance and then they just mess it up on both sides. For example, the way this opposition has got around the flanks has been very good, but for some reason he's had his guys walking in almost a column, like one unit at a time engaging, which has meant that he's been using defeat in detail. My ally has done good things such as placing units in the right places in order to hold, or pulling back the light infantry, which meant that he's been able to hold. But he's also allowed himself to get into melee fights with superior opposition and such, and taken heavy casualties because of it. Oh yeah, by the way, so god damn it, I missed it. I sent my general all the way around here. I got my opposition's general. I made his opposition general rout. But I routed in the process because he formed squares. So every single general, apart from the British general here, has routed now. And now it's just light infantry against line infantry plus some other light infantry. And these units who routed have come back. So there's a Polish Legion down here, there's a Chasseur light infantry unit here, and another Polish Legion up here against 3 units of British light foot. And the general. He tries to use the general to make this unit rout again. And pulls his light infantry back so he doesn't get swarmed and can pick them off from afar. His general routs this unit. I mean, just look at the sheer amount of corpses all the way across the battlefield, all the way over here, and then all the way across here. It's pretty insane. Just completely gone out to the wire, this battle. The thing is, light infantry must be out of ammo, and that's why he's charging them in melee now. They're exhausted, which is why they're moving so slow. Obviously the Polish Legion will win that. They've got superior forces, they are an elite unit, they're line infantry, it's light infantry, and they've got a mild hill. But with the melee battle, he's able to pull his other units back, giving him more space to shoot. This unit has come back, his Swiss foot. They routed, but they've come back. But usually when I do these online battles, when I do any battle on Napoleon or any Total War game, the person who wins usually has a superior force by the end. It's pretty one-sided by the end of the battle. Like, they've at least got 5 units, only mildly depleted, you know. This is probably one of the only battles I've ever done where it's gone this close to the point that the generals have been used to rout units. I mean, just look how many men are left. From a 2v2, this is pretty impressive that it's gotten this close.
What our ball?
These Polish Legion are actually losing because they're being skirmished.
Oui, monsieur.
So he sends his chasseurs. I don't know what he's doing with these chasseurs. I don't know why he's not going to spread out in light infantry formation like my ally. I mean, this Polish legion breaks. So now it's just that Swiss foot all the way over there and these chasseurs. So at this point I'm thinking, wow, this guy might actually win this battle. He sends his general in an attack. This is just hilarious. I don't know why he didn't keep them engaged, because light infantry against cavalry means the cavalry is likely to win, despite the numbers. But for some reason he pulls back. I think it's because he saw this Swiss foot. But this is nail-bitingly close. How from a 2v2 it's gotten this desperate that depleted lines, light infantry and generals are being used. This Polish legion has come back. Seems to be all these units coming back. Okay, this light infantry unit shatters. The cavalry is still engaging the Swiss foot. His Polish legion engages these light foots in melee.
This battle is almost done.
The Swiss foot shatter. The general's back. He charges into this melee fight. Just as the light foot breaks, and now it's just his general. And they managed to. The general routs for some reason. So yeah, that's that. Our opposition wins, but agonizingly close battle. I deployed the second most. I deployed one. So the person who I said went for quantity over quality deployed the most, so proving my point. They had 1,878 troops. They kind of won the battle because they took me out whilst I was attacking my opposition, meaning that my ally was on his own. And he also lost to that person, so... I had the second most, 1,728. My ally had the third most, 1,638, and the opposition I faced had 1,518. They went for real quality over quantity, as I said. I lost the third most, 1,331. The person who deployed the most lost the most. And I killed the least, which is kind of annoying, but, you know, whatever. My unit that got most experience was, well, the General Staff already had 2 chevrons at the start, and so they didn't really get the most. So really it's my Fusiliers. My Old Guard killed the most, 1,938, and lost the most as well, 112. So they were the most... They were the unit that did the most, the Old Guard. Anyway, So this battle really, I like to come up with things that that you can learn from this. I suppose once again it's about team play. This one, me and my ally didn't work very well. He just kind of sat in the corner, didn't help me, waited until I was defeated before doing anything, and so I was facing two armies. Defeated one of them, but lost to the reinforcements. And then the other lesson is, have an organised force. Our opposition could have so easily won that if they just organised a bit better instead of sending units in one at a time into the fight. So they only narrowly won because of that. So try to keep an organised line. If you want examples of how to keep an organised line, watch the way that I attacked that hill at the start, the way that I used an entire line as one unit instead of individual units, and where I was able to change each unit to face different angles on the flanks and things, so it wasn't like they were static, but at the same time I was using them as one force to be very aggressive. And my other online battles will show you that as well. It's the most effective way of playing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this battle. Please free to comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.